Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video, and we're back again looking at hammers now in our review series. I'm going to start off with the Qs, Ws and passives of the first weapon. So we have Bashni, instantly slows the enemy for 32% for 8.3 seconds and also does 154 physical damage. As well as Threatening Strike, and then it's just a PvE threat generator. Basically you should only use Bashni, and it does do a lot less damage than the mace. That is something that's actually to be noted of the hammer. Unless you're running the heavy cleave, you do actually do a lot less damage than the mace. On your Q abilities anyway. W, you have the heavy cleave, which is pretty strong. Has to be kind of paired with a stun, and probably best to run with the soldier armor. You've got slowing charge, power geyser, and knockout. So slowing charge, just another charge, slows everything you hit by 50% along the way. 13-second cooldown, 8.3. I am actually running some cooldown stuff. So 15-second cooldown, 8.3-second duration. It's about 50% uptime. Power geyser, you can make some plays with this, knock enemies up and knock your group members away, which means if someone gets caught in a Hellion, you can knock them away. There's a couple of different things you can do with it. Pretty cool ability. And then knockout, which is just a long duration sleep. Passives then, we have Stunning Strike, Energetic, Life Leech, exactly the same as the Mace, and Dread-Laden Fighting is basically the only viable thing really for GVGs and Hellgates. Looking at the E ability then, Earth Shatter, shatters the earth, dealing 154 damage to all enemies in a 5.5 meter radius around the caster, and stuns them for 6.22 seconds. You can make some sort of delayed teleport Earth Shatter plays with the AoE stun. It's not a very big radius though, it is something to be sort of aware of. Probably wouldn't use it myself. Maybe it can be used in ZVZs after like a mace engages with the air compressor root pull. You can potentially let Hunter use Earth Shatter, try and get a long duration stun on that. Maybe you can do something like that, but I would personally say it's not a particularly strong weapon right now. Looking at the Great Hammer then, which arguably is one of the strongest, if not the strongest tank weapon right now. So you have the tackle. Rush towards a target destination, ramming away any enemies along the way, dealing 222 damage and stunning them for 7.15 seconds. So effectively with this, the helmet and boots I think are always set in place. You basically run the Hellion hood with the Druid shoes. Effectively what you can do is tackle into Druid shoes into Hellion, and you just basically CC them into that for 10 plus seconds, and that's a really long time, especially if you catch some backliners like a healer and a DPS and stuff like that. It's really strong. Me personally, I like that combination. I think that's why tackle's so strong at the moment. You also have the soldier armor build, which again kind of plays around the tank, taking a little bit more of the pressure, a little bit more of the damage. But effectively you get hit, you build your fury stacks, you go in for a tackle into the heavy cleave, you do a big chunk of damage, but again it's a bit risky to play and you have less sort of peel with it. If you're running the main one, sort of the tanky setup, running the knight armor, you're just a little bit more of a traditional tank. But yeah. Guardian armor's also usable as well with this, but like I said, I actually will be doing armors as well in this one. Then we have Polehammer. Polehammer's not a bad ZVZ weapon actually. It's a decent stun on a short cooldown, and it's from range as well, which is quite nice. So it is a decent weapon. Not very many people do run it though, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, you can run that into potentially Geyser and have like a completely ranged CC bot. Maybe even slowing charge, just sort of charge in and get the stun. There's a couple of things you can do for ZVZ stuff. For GVGs and Hellgates, I don't think Polehammer's particularly viable. It's a shame, but I mean, having the reposition on tackle for the Great Hammer is nice. It's the same. So actually, if you look at it, if you look at Groundbreaker and tackle is an 11 meter, so it's an extra 2 meters. However, it stuns them for less time and does less damage for the same cooldown. And what's the energy cost? Same energy cost. The only thing you gain is a little bit more stun, a little bit more damage. You lose 2 meter range, but you do also lose the ability to reposition. So I wouldn't say Polehammer's a lot behind Great Hammer. I would say it's decent, but people just aren't using it. It's a shame, but I'd say with ZVZs it's usable. For Hellgates, I would say it's usable in Hellgates, but probably not in GVGs. Getting to our first artifact then, we have the Tomb Hammer. Send a giant undead hand out in front of you. On hit, the enemy and all enemies in close proximity will be rooted for 14.7 seconds and receive 261 damage. 26 meter range. Usable in ZVZs. Again, it's quite nice to have one in ZVZs, but I wouldn't say they're mandatory. Cooldown 15 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but again, it's not needed, not necessary, I think is the best way I could say it. Unfortunately. Forge hammers then, which the weird one of the tank setup, because it's kind of more of a bruiser weapon than a tank weapon. Giant steps makes you huge and resilient, slowing all enemies in close proximity, increases armor by 177 and auto attack damage by 146% for 10 seconds. So there's a couple of things to mention with this. Works really well with haste. Because obviously you have that defensiveness built into giant steps, so you can use haste with it, the hunter jacket, which is going to increase your attack speed as well as your auto attack damage by even more. Druid shoes can be used with it, probably better to be used on your actual tank to slow them down for you, because you'll have bash knee then as well as the slow from Druid shoes. And actually Trident, the Trinity Spear actually. Basically, it's one of the new artifacts. I can actually show you a second. The Trinity Spear. The impact location will then create a magic area within an 8 meter radius, which lasts for 6 seconds. Inside the area, attack speed is increased by 100%, movement speed by 50%. So effectively, you put that down, use the Forge Hammers, and you can use them as kind of like a huge damage steroid. So I'd say they're okay. Potentially you can build a team comp around them in like 5v5s. Haven't seen them in GVGs for a long time. Maybe that's something that could happen. But I would say Hellgates are usable. ZVZs, they don't really offer anything. And then the Grove Keeper. After a short delay, you will jump to a ground target location. On impact, all enemies in a 6 meter radius are stunned for 11.59 seconds and take 350 fizz damage. Each enemy hit will also increase your resistances by 76 for 6 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Huge resistances, can jump directly into the middle of a group. Decent sized AoE. I think for ZVZs this is a must have. It's super strong. Like I said, it's a long duration stun. You can pair it with Hunter shoes. There's so much you can do with it. 14 meter range, which means you can actually cast it from a decent range away as well. But yeah, I would say for ZVZs it's good. For GVGs, I'm not really sure. It's kind of like a snare charge and a root. Like obviously you have the maces which has the snare charge, battle howl, so that gives it a snare. That gives it a root, sorry, and a silence. Grovekeeper gives just a stun. I would say it's usable in GVGs and Hellgates. We haven't seen it yet, which does surprise me a little bit. I think Great Hammer's probably still just better though. Would be quite interested to see this in GVGs though, and Hellgates. I think Hellgates is definitely usable, but it is quite expensive still. Yeah, so guys, tell me what you think of hammers, if you're enjoying them. I mean, they are probably one of the best, if not the best, GVG tank weapon right now. But yeah, so thanks for watching guys, and catch you later. Goodbye.